opening day, Minnesota's archery season. We got into this place. It's a place we scouted a whole bunch last winter and early spring. Now some of the places we marked are white oaks, like white oaks, not burr white oaks. So if those are still dropping acorns, they would be probably the preferred because they're a lot more isolated out there. There's definitely a lot of tracks on this trail that we're heading in on. It's tough to say for sure the age because I think once you get a hoof print in this wet, soggy stuff, I don't know how long it really stays looking like it does, but it's definitely been used pretty heavily. So you can tell we're not quite on solid ground. So we got the hip boots and everything just in case, but so far it hasn't seemed like it's been too much of an issue staying on top of the stuff. When we get up to this first oak island, we'll just stand on the edge on the downwind side and just kind of glass it and look for signs, look for fresh droppings, fresh rubs on that island. Last year when we scouted this island had a lot of rubs on it, so we don't know yet what time of year those are made. So if we get in there and we see some fresh rubs, that'd be a big bonus. And of course there's a big white oak on it, so if that happens to be dropping acorns, awesome. We'll just get out there and see what we see. Things are kind of squeaky. I'm gonna see if I can get by without them. All right, we're getting close here to this first oak island. And in some of this brushy stuff around it, we've found beds when scouting. So at this point, we're gonna slow way down, act like we're deer, just move a little bit, wait, move a little bit, wait. Just be scanning everywhere, looking for sign, taking everything in until we get up to that island, and then we can again look for additional sign. Not seeing a whole lot right from the edge, but it's also pretty thick. We're starting to see some acorns. I can't hear any falling. And we're seeing a lot more caps than actual acorns. The rubs that I can see are from last year. The big white oak is right behind me. I'm just gonna walk up to it, see if from that spot I can see any more droppings or anything. There's some acorn caps there, there's some tracks, there's some droppings, but none of it really looks really fresh. Maybe a week ago, maybe a week and a half ago, this place could have been really good. Just not feeling it right now. Could be okay, we could see some deer coming through, picking up these last few acorns, but it's just, I feel like we should be able to find better. Yeah. Let's try and walk along this tree line a little more. You know, most of the acorns that we're seeing, it's just caps and not a lot of fresh droppings. I mean, you just look at this, you can just picture deer come up on these things vacuuming up acorns, but I haven't even heard an acorn fall. Probably on the tail end of it is what it is. You know, 2 weeks ago, these acorns are probably falling quite a bit more. So we'll just keep pushing onward. Seeing a little bit of sign on each one of these islands, but I mean, if it was hot, a tree like this should have a scrape under it. Same thing with that one over there. And it looks like some of these things are kind of chewed up, like they are licking branches. Like maybe this area gets hot towards like the end of October or something. You know, when we scouted this, it was early spring, late winter. So you don't really get a good feel for timing of sign. We came in today with like a plan, A, B, C, D, E. We're on like E right now. We basically worked through all the stuff we wanted to check, and we're at the last spot that kind of logically makes sense. So if this one ends up not looking good, but we still see some sign, we'll probably hunt it anyway, just because we're so deep back into this marsh that it doesn't make sense to go back and try and find someplace else. We'll get up on this island, it's got a couple oaks on it, it's surrounded by some good bedding cover that we did see bedding on when we scouted. So again, as long as we see some kind of deer sign on here, preferably some acorns that are still either in the trees or on the ground, we'll give it a sit. We'll sit on the downwind side of this island and just be able to observe the whole thing adjacent to that bedding cover. So from where we're standing right now, there's a little bit of deer sign here, as good as anything that we've seen so far. And we're trying to figure out which tree to set up in. Of course, we want to be on the downwind side of the island. And if we set up in this double tree right down here past this deadfall, we're still able to see into that gap close to the bedding cover, and we could still shoot out across the most likely area that a deer would walk across this open island. I'm really happy with this setup. The way we got set up in these trees right here, it's like the perfect side of the island where as a lefty I got great shootability, great cover, and the bedding is off just to what's almost bad for us, but a deer still could feel secure coming up with the wind in his face to get to this part of the island. So the only thing that's left at this point is to see if there's any deer that are going to come up here. There's a mixture of, there's some red oaks, some bur oaks, and some white oaks, all on this one island. And I'm kind of curious, because of that and because of the fact that we haven't seen a lot of fresh acorns on the ground, if this is just like what the sign looks like this time of year. You know, we haven't really hunted this area a lot in September, so we know what good sign looks like late October, but you know, maybe this is just what it looks like this time of year when it's getting used. So this is about the best setup that we could hope for. Decently high confidence, as long as there's deer bedding where we think they could be. Still got about 2.5 hours before last light. There's a buck in that other island. Straight in. You're almost pointed right at him. Well, I gotta say, that was a pretty fun first hunt. I thought it was 2 different bucks that we saw, but Sam thinks it might have been 3. It's hard to tell because once they get from island to island, it's so thick. But for sure, we saw at least 2 different 7-pointers. It looked like there was a 4 or 6-pointer also. That last one came into, it was under 15 yards and bedded down. So eventually we just had to start climbing down and spook them off the island. But it was pretty cool to see that even though like the sign when we got in there didn't look spectacular, it was kind of the best area that, you know, how it's set up and everything, that we ended up sitting there anyway and seeing the deer. So that was encouraging. And what was nice about today is because we just kept going A, B, C, D, E, we basically took that whole segment of marsh and now we crossed it off the list. Now we're going to the next place. So we didn't have to waste time hunting one spot and then going to the next spot just to find out what we already figured out just in one night now.